What if everything you've been taught about spirituality has been leading you away from the very power that could transform your life? Have you ever wondered why, despite years of prayer, worship, and spiritual seeking, the profound peace and abundance promised by spiritual teachings still feels just out of reach? For centuries, humanity has been searching in the wrong direction. We've looked to the heavens, to sacred buildings, to rituals and ceremonies, desperately seeking connection with something we believed was outside ourselves. But what if the greatest spiritual truth ever revealed has been hidden in plain sight all along? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world, and if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. The phrase, "the kingdom of God is within you," might be the most revolutionary spiritual teaching ever given to mankind, yet it's also the most misunderstood. Has this ever happened to you? You read these words, nod in agreement, then continue your spiritual practice exactly as before, looking outward for solutions, blessings, and divine intervention that you believe must come from somewhere else. This misunderstanding isn't your fault. For thousands of years, religious institutions have emphasized external worship while neglecting the profound inner transformation these words were meant to ignite. The idea that divine consciousness lives within you, not as a metaphor, but as literal truth, threatens every system built on spiritual intermediaries and external authority. When you truly grasp what the kingdom of God is within you means, everything changes. Suddenly, you realize that what you've been seeking through prayer, meditation, and spiritual practice has never been separate from you. The divine presence, with all its wisdom, love, abundance, and healing power, isn't something to be earned or discovered. It's what you are at your core. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what you're about to discover might surprise you, challenge your existing beliefs, and ultimately liberate you from struggles you've accepted as inevitable parts of the human condition. This isn't about adopting new spiritual beliefs or practices. It's about recognizing a truth that has always been present in your consciousness. Most people approach spirituality as something external, a distant deity to please, a future heaven to attain, a set of rules to follow. They pray outwardly, attend services, perform rituals, all while missing the revolutionary message at the heart of true spiritual teaching. The kingdom of God is not a place you go when you die or a future state you must earn. It's a present reality within your consciousness right now, in this very moment. This understanding dissolves the artificial boundary between the sacred and the ordinary. Every moment becomes an opportunity to recognize and express divine consciousness. Every challenge becomes an invitation to remember who you truly are. Every relationship becomes a mirror reflecting aspects of your own divine nature. The most profound spiritual transformation doesn't come from accumulating more knowledge or perfecting external practices. It comes from a fundamental shift in identity, from believing you are a limited human, being seeking connection with something greater, to recognizing you, a spiritual consciousness, temporarily experiencing human form. If these teachings about the kingdom within resonate with your spiritual journey, subscribe to join our community of seekers, discovering the divine consciousness that exists within each of us. This hidden truth completely transforms your relationship with life's challenges. When you truly grasp that the kingdom of God is within you, you undergo a profound mindset shift. No longer are you a helpless victim, tossed about by external circumstances, hoping for rescue from some distant power. Instead, you recognize that the very essence of creation, the same power that sustains galaxies and orchestrates the dance of atoms, exists within your consciousness. This revelation isn't just philosophical, it's intensely practical. The struggles with health that seemed permanent, the relationship patterns that repeated endlessly, the financial limitations, you accepted as just how things are. All these conditions exist only because they've been accepted as reality in your consciousness. And what consciousness accepts, consciousness experiences. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by sharing something that illuminates the whole journey of spiritual awakening. Your consciousness operates in two distinct dimensions simultaneously. Picture a cross, not as a religious symbol, but as a map of your consciousness. The vertical beam represents your eternal connection to divine consciousness, the infinite source that exists as your true self. It's unchanging, unlimited, and exists beyond time and space. The horizontal beam represents your human experience, the world of appearances, circumstances, and temporary conditions. This is where problems seem to exist, where limitation appears real, where you experience the ups and downs of physical life. The profound truth is that only one of these dimensions is fundamentally real and eternal, the vertical connection to divine consciousness. Yet most people live exclusively on the horizontal plane, completely identified with their human experience. They use human effort to solve human problems, applying physical solutions to what are essentially spiritual misperceptions. They exhaust themselves, trying to manipulate effects with other effects, wondering why lasting transformation remains elusive. Think about a time when you faced a seemingly impossible situation that suddenly resolved in an unexpected way. In that moment, you likely experienced a shift from horizontal thinking to vertical awareness, perhaps without even realizing what happened. That brief alignment with your inner divine nature allowed solutions to appear that your limited human thinking could never have conceived. This isn't about denying your human experience or escaping from reality. It's about recognizing which dimension of your being has true creative power. When you consciously live at the intersection of these two dimensions, grounded in human experience while anchored in divine consciousness, you become a transformative presence in your world. The journey from merely hearing these words to embodying them is the most significant inner work you'll ever undertake. It's a path of remembering rather than becoming, of recognizing what has always been true rather than striving to attain something new. Write in the comments, "I'm awakening to the kingdom within," if you've ever experienced moments where you glimpsed this truth, even fleetingly. The true alchemy of transformation happens exactly at this intersection, where divine consciousness meets human experience. This convergence point is where miracles become natural expressions of your awakened awareness rather than supernatural events. When you learn to live from this sacred junction, something remarkable occurs in your journey. You stop exhausting yourself fighting against external conditions and begin dissolving in them through spiritual realization. This revelation isn't new. Every authentic spiritual master throughout history, regardless of tradition or terminology, has pointed to this same profound truth. Jesus called it the kingdom of God within. Buddha named it enlightenment. Hindu sages referred to it as self-realization. The Tao describes it as returning to the source. Different languages pointing to the same transcendent reality, the discovery that what you've been seeking has been your true nature all along. But here's where many spiritual seekers encounter a paradox that stops their progress. To fully realize this kingdom within, something must die, not your physical body, but something far more tenacious, the false sense of self that believes it is separate from divine consciousness. This isn't mere philosophical adjustment, but a complete paradigm shift in identity. This ego death sounds frightening until you understand what's actually dying. Only illusion. What's dying is the belief in separation, the sense of being a vulnerable entity cut off from the source of life, the impression of existing as an isolated fragment in a hostile universe. As this false identity dissolves, what emerges isn't something new or created. It's your original nature, your Christ consciousness, your Buddha nature that has been present all along, simply obscured by misperception. The awakening feels like resurrection because something that seemed dead, your connection to divine consciousness, comes vibrantly alive in your awareness. The veil lifts and you recognize a stunning truth. You are not a human being struggling to become spiritual through practice and devotion. You are spiritual consciousness temporarily experiencing human form. This revelation completely inverts your relationship with existence. Rather than striving to ascend to some distant heavenly kingdom through merit or effort, you recognize that divine consciousness is already expressing as you through you and as everything you experience. The journey becomes one of allowing this truth to permeate every dimension of your life, dissolving the artificial boundaries between sacred and mundane. If you found value in these insights about the kingdom of God being within you, take a moment to like this video. It helps these teachings reach others who may be searching for this very message. The practical impact is profound. When challenging circumstances arise, illness, conflict, lack, you no longer react from the horizontal plane of human fear and limitation. Instead, you respond from the vertical awareness of divine consciousness that knows these conditions as temporary appearances with no power to define your true nature. This isn't denial or magical thinking. It's recognizing which dimension of your being has true creative authority. Type "I am consciousness itself" in the comments if you're beginning to sense this deeper identity beyond your personal story and circumstances. The most profound revelation in this journey of awakening is how it transforms your relationship with problems. When you genuinely live from this awakened consciousness, something extraordinary happens that defies conventional problem-solving wisdom. The struggles that seemed so insurmountable, health challenges, financial limitations, relationship conflicts, don't need to be solved through external manipulation. They begin to dissolve. This dissolution isn't magical thinking or denial. It's the natural impact of bringing light to darkness. Just as darkness doesn't need to be fixed, it simply vanishes in the presence of light, so too do the conditions we call problems disappear in the light of truth. What appeared as illness is recognized as a temporary belief in separation from wholeness. What manifested as lack is revealed as an illusion projected by consciousness, temporarily forgetting its connection to infinite supply. The kingdom within offers a radical paradigm shift in how you approach life's challenges. Instead of exhausting yourself, working on the horizontal plane of effects, treating symptoms, managing circumstances, manipulating conditions, you learn to live from the vertical truth of your being. This vertical dimension isn't concerned with fixing the world of appearances. It's concerned with revealing the underlying reality that renders those appearances powerless. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by sharing a practical technique that anchors this understanding in your daily experience. The approach is deceptively simple, yet its consistent application creates a profound blueprint for transformation. When any problem appears, whether physical discomfort, financial pressure, or relationship tension, begin by pausing. This momentary interruption of your automatic reaction pattern is crucial because it creates space for a new response. In that space, consciously remember that what you're seeing exists only in the world of appearances, the horizontal dimension of experience that seems real but lacks the permanence and power of your true nature. This isn't about denying the appearance but recognizing its proper place in the order of reality. Then, make a deliberate choice to turn within to the divine presence at your core. The kingdom that Jesus said is within you. Here's where many spiritual seekers stumble. They turn within, but they bring their horizontal mindset with them. They beg, plead, or negotiate with what they perceive as a separate, Power. The revolutionary approach is radically different. You simply rest in the awareness that God's kingdom, infinite intelligence, love, wholeness, and abundance is present within you, exactly where you are. Not as a distant deity to persuade, but as the very consciousness that is reading these words right now. This resting isn't passive resignation, it's active recognition of what is eternally true beneath the temporary appearances. As you maintain this awareness, something shifts. The problem begins to lose its sense of solidity and permanence. Solutions appear that your limited human thinking could never have conceived. Circumstances rearrange themselves without force or manipulation. This happens not because you've controlled external reality, but because you've aligned with the consciousness from which all reality flows. Share your insight in the comments by writing, "The kingdom dissolves all problems," if you've experienced this shift even momentarily in your life. Let me share with you some powerful real-world revelations that demonstrate this principle in action. Margaret's story reveals the practical impact of this consciousness shift. For years, she suffered from debilitating chronic pain that medical experts couldn't resolve. She had tried everything: medications, surgeries, alternative therapies, positive affirmations, yet nothing provided lasting relief. Her breakthrough came when she realized she had been operating entirely on the horizontal plane, trying to fix an effect with more effects. Subscribe to continue exploring these transformative spiritual truths that reveal your divine nature. Because understanding the kingdom within isn't just philosophy, it's the key to living from your highest potential. When Margaret discovered the truth about the kingdom within, she approached her healing journey differently. Rather than fighting against her body or begging for divine intervention, she began practicing the awareness that wholeness was already her true nature. Each time pain appeared, she would pause, recognize it as an appearance on the horizontal plane, and turn within to rest in the truth of perfect wholeness that constituted her real being. This wasn't instantaneous magical healing. Her transformation unfolded over 3 weeks of consistent practice, not because divine consciousness was slow to respond, but because her human awareness needed time to fully accept this radical truth. Gradually, the pain episodes became shorter, less intense, and eventually disappeared completely. Her doctors were baffled, but Margaret understood the mechanism behind her transformation. She hadn't fixed her body, she had corrected her consciousness. Thomas's journey illuminates another dimension of this principle. His business was failing, debt was mounting, and financial catastrophe seemed inevitable. Like so many of us, he had spent months in desperate prayer, begging God to send money, save his business, and fix his circumstances. But he was praying from the horizontal plane, approaching the divine as a separate power that might or might not respond to his pleas. The pivotal moment came when Thomas grasped that the kingdom within contained infinite abundance as its very nature. He stopped seeing his bank account as objective reality and recognized it as merely an effect of consciousness. Each morning, instead of waking with anxiety about finances, he would sit in silence and consciously release his belief in lack, resting instead in the awareness that infinite supply was the very substance of his being. Within weeks, his external reality began to shift, not through magical manifestation techniques, but through a fundamental realignment with truth. 3 unexpected business opportunities appeared, not because he had manipulated reality, but because his consciousness was no longer blocking the natural flow of abundance. The most remarkable aspect wasn't that his financial situation improved, but that his relationship with money transformed completely. He discovered that prosperity wasn't something to chase, but something to express from within. These stories aren't exceptional outliers. They represent the natural unfolding that occurs when anyone recognizes and lives from the kingdom within. The transformation isn't about acquiring something new, but removing the mental obstacles that block your awareness of what has always been present. Every healing, every instance of renewed abundance, every harmonious relationship flows from this same principle, the recognition of your oneness with the divine consciousness that constitutes your true nature. Drop a comment saying, "I recognize the kingdom within," if you're beginning to see how this principle could transform your own circumstances. Rachel's story illuminates a profound revelation about relationships. After 3 painful divorces, she had constructed an identity around being unlucky in love and fundamentally unlovable. Each relationship followed the same devastating pattern: initial connection, gradual disappointment, eventual betrayal, and heartbreaking separation. She exhausted herself trying different approaches, changing her appearance, attending relationship workshops, reading countless self-help books, all external solutions to what she eventually discovered was an internal misperception. The teaching of the kingdom within completely transformed her journey. Rachel realized she wasn't unlucky in love, she was operating from a fundamental misunderstanding about love's nature. She had been seeking externally what could only be found within, treating love as something others could give or withhold, rather than recognizing it as her own divine essence. This misplacement of power created a pattern of seeking completion through others, which inevitably led to disappointment. As Rachel began practicing awareness of the kingdom within, she made a revolutionary mindset shift. Instead of asking, "Who will love me?" she began resting in the truth: "I am love itself." Each morning, she would sit quietly and recognize that love wasn't something to acquire, but something to express from her inherent wholeness. This wasn't affirmation or positive thinking. It was recognizing her true nature beyond personal history and emotional patterns. The transformation wasn't immediate, but after several months of consistent practice, Rachel's entire relationship with relationships changed. When she eventually met David, she encountered him not from emptiness seeking fullness, but from wholeness recognizing wholeness. Their connection thrived precisely because it wasn't built on mutual need, but on mutual expression of the love that constituted their true nature. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by examining what makes these transformations possible. The kingdom within is not merely a concept to analyze intellectually or a theory to debate philosophically. It's a consciousness to embody in every dimension of your life. The difference is crucial. Concepts remain at the level of thought, while consciousness becomes the very lens through which you perceive and experience reality. Every challenge you face presents a fundamental choice. You can remain in the limited human perspective, struggling against external conditions with human willpower and effort, or you can turn within to the infinite divine presence that constitutes your true self. This isn't a choice you make once and complete. It's a choice available in every moment, with every thought, with every circumstance that arises. When your car breaks down, when medical test results arrive, when relationship tensions flare, these are not merely problems to solve, but invitations to remember who you truly are. In that remembering, solutions emerge not from desperate effort, but from aligned awareness. This choice between living as a limited human being fighting circumstances or as divine consciousness expressing through human form determines not just how you feel about your circumstances, but how those circumstances unfold in your experience. If you've experienced even a glimpse of this profound choice, write, "I choose divine consciousness" in the comments below. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring a powerful complementary practice that amplifies your experience of the kingdom within. This practice, often called impersonalization, represents a revolutionary shift in how you relate to the challenges that appear in your life. At its core, impersonalization means recognizing that nothing in the external world is actually personal to you, even when it seems intensely so. This insight transforms your entire relationship with problems. The illness appearing in your body is not actually your illness. It's simply an impersonal belief in separation expressing through your experience. The financial limitation isn't your poverty. It's the universal concept of lack temporarily appearing in your consciousness. The relationship conflict isn't about you or the other person. It's the impersonal belief in separation trying to sustain itself. When you truly grasp this revelation, something profound shifts in your journey. You stop taking problems personally, which immediately removes the emotional reactivity that energizes and sustains them. Most people crucify themselves on the cross of personalization by asking disempowering questions. Why is this happening to me? What did I do wrong? Why am I being punished? These questions keep you trapped in victim consciousness and block your awareness of the kingdom within. Your like on this video creates ripples of awakening, helping others discover the profound truth that the divine power they've been seeking has always existed within their own consciousness. Impersonalization lifts you above this battlefield of reactions. Instead of saying, "I am sick," you recognize the belief in sickness is appearing. Instead of claiming, "I am broke," you observe the concept of lack is temporarily expressing. This isn't semantic wordplay, it's a fundamental shift in identification that releases you from the grip of circumstances while connecting you with the infinite power of your true nature. Another essential dimension of accessing the kingdom within is the practice of present moment awareness. This isn't merely a mindfulness technique for stress reduction, it's a spiritual gateway to your divine nature. The kingdom of God exists only in the eternal now. It cannot be found in your memories of yesterday or your projections about tomorrow. When you worry about the future or regret the past, you actually abandon the only place where divine presence can be experienced. This present moment. Each time you bring your awareness fully into now, you activate the kingdom within your consciousness. You step out of the horizontal timeline of past and future and into the vertical dimension of eternal presence. In this space of pure now, stripped of all stories, projections, and mental commentary, you discover something remarkable. Problems don't actually exist in the present moment. They exist only in the narrative your mind creates about past experiences or future possibilities. Try this simple yet profound awareness check in this very moment without any mental story about what came before or what might happen next. What problem actually exists? You'll discover that in pure presence there is only this breath, these sensations, this consciousness aware of itself. The kingdom within reveals itself naturally when you stop abandoning the now in favor of mental time travel. If you've experienced even a moment of this timeless presence where problems dissolve, share it by writing, "I found the kingdom in the now," in the comments. Let's explore the roadblocks that often appear on this transformative journey. Even with the clearest understanding of the kingdom within, most seekers encounter three primary obstacles that can temporarily halt their progress. The first is impatience, the expectation that decades of conditioning should dissolve instantly after a few days of practice. When circumstances don't immediately change, doubt creeps in with whispers like, "This isn't working," or "Maybe these principles work for others but not for me." This resistance reveals a profound misunderstanding about the nature of consciousness transformation. The shift isn't always instantaneous because you're not simply adopting new ideas. You're undoing years, sometimes lifetimes, of deeply ingrained belief in separation. You're rewiring neural pathways that have been strengthened through repetition. You're dissolving identity structures that have defined your entire existence. This deconstruction and rebuilding process naturally unfolds in divine timing, not according to human schedules. The second obstacle is inconsistency, practicing awareness of the kingdom within during morning meditation, then spending the remainder of the day completely identified with human problems and limitations. This divided consciousness creates an internal conflict that actually reinforces the very separation you're trying to dissolve. It's like planting seeds in the morning and digging them up every afternoon to see if they're growing. Perhaps the most formidable obstacle is the ego's fierce resistance to surrender. Your false sense of self, the me that believes it is separate, vulnerable, and defined by its story, doesn't willingly relinquish control. It generates convincing arguments for why these principles might work theoretically, but cannot possibly apply to your unique situation. It creates emergencies that demand immediate horizontal solutions. It whispers that trusting in divine consciousness is irresponsible or impractical. The key to moving through these obstacles lies not in fighting them, which only keeps you trapped in the horizontal dimension, but in recognizing them as natural parts of the awakening journey. Trust the process unfolding within you. Understand that consciousness shifts often precede visible external changes. Every time you choose to recognize the kingdom within, you're strengthening a new neural pathway, establishing a new vibrational frequency, aligning with a deeper truth, even when you can't yet see tangible results. As your practice deepens through consistent application, something extraordinary begins to happen. The awareness of the kingdom within gradually becomes your natural state rather than a concept you struggle to remember. You no longer have to work at recognizing truth because you've become established in it. The vertical dimension of consciousness becomes your primary identity, with the horizontal human experience recognized as its temporary expression rather than defining reality. From this awakened consciousness, you still fully participate in the human world, working, relating, creating, solving practical problems, but you're no longer fooled by appearances. You see through the seemingly solid problems to the infinite potential they contain. You recognize challenges not as obstacles to overcome, but as invitations to express divine qualities. Your very presence becomes a healing force for everyone you encounter, not because you're trying to help or fix others, but because you naturally radiate the truth you've embodied. If you've felt glimpses of this natural state where truth remembers itself through you without effort, share by writing "I am the kingdom expressing" in the comments. As we come to the close of our exploration, I hope you've glimpsed the extraordinary potential that awakens when you truly recognize that the kingdom of God is within you. This understanding isn't merely philosophical, it's the most practical, transformative realization possible because it returns you to your original relationship with life itself. The journey we've shared today isn't about adding something new to your spiritual practice. It's about recognizing what has always been true beneath the appearances, that divine consciousness isn't somewhere else, waiting to be accessed through special techniques or earned through spiritual accomplishment. It's what you are at your core, waiting only for your recognition. If this message resonated with you today, if you felt something stir within you that recognizes these truths not just intellectually, but in the depths of your being, I'd love to hear from you. Type "The kingdom has always been within me" in the comments to let me know this message found its way to the right heart at the right time. Consider subscribing to our channel if you value these deeper explorations that go beyond surface spirituality to the practical application of timeless wisdom. Each week, we delve into these transformative principles, not as theoretical concepts, but as living truths you can embody in your everyday experience. If you found value in today's message, a simple like helps. Others discover these teachings too, a small gesture that creates ripples of awakening far beyond what we can see. There's a video right here that expands on how to maintain this awareness of the kingdom within during life's most challenging moments. Click and continue this journey with me there as we explore how to live from divine consciousness even when the horizontal world seems most convincing. Until we meet again, remember, the power you seek has never been separate from what you truly are.